What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL video on Fantasy Football Scout. Wasn't planning on doing this video today because we didn't have this news early this morning, but we have had a fixture update for Game Week 18, which is potentially massive news for some teams. I think the whole way through this kind of fixture postponement, fixture rearrangement, blanks and doubles, we've kind of said it depends on your team. This is going to affect people in a massive way, one way or another, I would imagine. So what's happened is Aston Villa versus Spurs has now been postponed in Game Week 18. So that match isn't happening. Villa will not play. Grealish, Martinez, whoever you've got from Aston Villa, they're not playing in Game Week 18. Instead, unless something changes between now and tomorrow, but I don't see that happening. But it is a bit of a crazy situation we've got right now. But instead of Spurs being off, the Premier League have rearranged Spurs versus Fulham. So Spurs are at home and they're now playing Fulham. This is big because some people will be holding Spurs assets. They've just played, well, we thought they were going to play Fulham and then Leeds. So people will have Kane and Son already very heavily owned. So potentially this could stop some people having to free hit. If you are free hitting, it suddenly makes Spurs players probably much more desirable than they were before. Like when I was putting free hit drafts together between, when Villa and Spurs was on, I was only having really maybe one Spurs player. Against Fulham at home, I considered having three, a defender, Son and Kane. And I think some of the good things that have come of this is Spurs were already kind of planning on playing a fixture in Game Week 18. Now, obviously the competition is different. The tactics, the strategy from Mourinho and his staff, etc. might be a bit different versus Fulham. But they were planning to play. Fulham weren't. They've just played 120 minutes, I think it was, in the FA Cup. They got a game on the weekend as well against Chelsea. So it's a difficult time for them. And suddenly, without very much notice, they now have to play on Wednesday. So it's a good time probably to target Fulham, especially with Spurs. They played an FA Cup game, but obviously the likes of Kane and Son got a good bit of a rest from that. This massively changes the free hit. Suddenly Kane, Son and the defender are kind of right up the list, whereas maybe they weren't before. It probably means those that were looking to triple on Arsenal, for example, is not so relevant now. If you go for triple Spurs, triple Man City, a couple of Man United players, there's not too many spots left for your Arsenal players. That's a huge thing, obviously, for free hitters. For anyone that had Harry Kane or Son in their teams already, like I had Kane and Reguilon, it potentially makes it a bit easier to get through Game Week 18 without having to use a free hit. Or you could be in a situation because you had lots of Villa players that you're actually reduced in the number of players you've got, and perhaps now hitting that free hit button or hitting that wildcard button is a bit more prevalent, right? What we don't know is what's happening with Aston Villa. So they haven't got a match this week. They are planning to play Everton, which has been moved, right? So Aston Villa versus Everton in Game Week 19 was supposed to be on Saturday. It's now been moved to Sunday. We can only assume that's to give them more time to get a team out against Everton. So as things stand, Villa will play twice still in Game Week 19. They'll play Everton on the Sunday and then they'll play Man City during the midweek. But of course, we don't know who is affected by COVID, who's having to self-isolate versus who actually tested positive. We don't know what their training schedule is going to be like. When are they going to be able to reopen the training ground to get back, to getting ready for the next match? So it's all kind of up in the air with Villa players. So if you're holding a few like I am, I've got Martinez and Grealish. I like the idea of them having a double game week in Game Week 19, but I don't know who's going to be fit and available, who's still going to be kind of struggling to recover, and how much training they will have had. So it looks currently like that's on. But obviously, that could be postponed as well. And that would take out Everton players too. But as it stands right now, Aston Villa versus Spurs isn't on. Spurs versus Fulham is in Game Week 18. So if you've got Fulham players or Spurs players, they're now playing. And in Game Week 19, right now, everything is as it was, apart from one thing. So I'll bring this up now. The deadline's been changed, right? Because to make sure Fulham could play their game midweek, they've had to push back their Friday game to Saturday. So the deadline is now 11 o'clock on Saturday morning rather than whatever time it was on Friday. I think it was a 4 o'clock deadline. I could be wrong on that. It might have been a bit later, like 6. But either way, it's not on Friday anymore. It's on Saturday because Fulham versus Chelsea is being rearranged. So that game is still on. It's just being played on Saturday instead of Friday. And to put kind of a bigger spanner in the works as well, now, there's a lot of injury news and stuff we'll have to talk about. We'll do that on the Team News live stream tomorrow, and we'll have Scoutcast later tonight to delve into this a little bit deeper. But Calvert-Lewin is out in the game against Wolves. So I don't think he was in too many free hit teams, but I know a lot of people still owned him. I still owned him. And so if you were trying to get through without any chips, and now you've suddenly lost Aston Villa players potentially, you've possibly lost Calvert-Lewin as well, And you're obviously hoping that Everton have that game against Villa in Game Week 19, which until we get closer to Game Week 19, we're not going to know. This is a pretty big miss, and it's a hamstring injury as well, so there's no guarantee that he will be back to the next game. Now, Ancelotti says it's not an important injury, we want to keep him safe so he can come back and be 100%, right? But the next game, Game Week 19, is quite close to the Game Week 18 game as well. So there's no guarantee he'll be back. So that throws another spanner in the works. But the big news is Spurs versus Fulham is on in Game Week 18. I think it makes it way more prevalent to have Spurs players on the free hit. If you've got a lot of players from Spurs, Man United and Man City anyway, it probably means you can get through Game Week 18 without having to hit that button if you haven't already. It probably puts people who are undecided, like me, between the wild card or the free hit or not using any chips into a bit more of a difficult situation. It's kind of muddied the waters a little bit because if you wild card, you want to have Kane and Son, but it makes it difficult to transition into Game Week 19 if you also want Mo Salah, for example. So that's something to think about. But that is the big news. Let me know in the comments below how this affects your plans. We will have Scoutcast tonight at 8 o'clock with Joe, Seb and Karam. So make sure to check that out. We'll be delving into this a little bit deeper. But let me know below how this changes your plans. Hit a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. And I'll catch you again soon.